Yeah, hello everyone, wherever you're joining us from. And if you can mute yourself, please do so. Can everyone hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Just so I'm not talking to myself. All right. All right. Awesome. Thanks for confirming that. Yeah. You are welcome to the Halos residency. It's really our first session, our first training session. Who's excited to be here? Show me some emojis if you can. We have a lot packed into this one session that we're starting with. Um, all right, awesome. And thanks for joining. This session will be recorded, so for the benefit of those who can't join us today, we're expecting up to 20 or more people. So hopefully they find time in the day to join the session live. Without further ado, if you're not a part of Halas or this is your first time joining us, then you probably need this information. But if you don't, then if it's not your first time joining us, then you probably already know what we're about. We are Halas, Halas Global Talent, and it's really a community-driven platform where we try to spotlight professionals and emerging voices from all around the world. So, no matter where you're from, no matter where you live, we want you to win, not just professionally, but also in life and everything. And we try to do this through our various programs that we put together. So whether it's our $10 Tuesday, $20 Tuesday, Finest Keepers, Halas Challenges programs that we've had in the past, it's really just helping you find a way to showcase your creativity, and that's all we're about. But with this new residency program that we have going on, it's really about thinking a little deeper, like, is it better to teach a man to fish, or I forget how that saying goes, but we're really just trying to make more impact and trying to get people to, learn about skills that can really just help them support themselves rather than just, giving out funds, which is also impactful. And, we may bring some of that back in the future, but really it's about learning, creating a learning environment. And to do this, we've been really encouraged by the response so far. We have about 70 or more residents at the last count, which, it may be a little choppy at the beginning where folks are unable to find their way to class and so on, but we're sure it's going to progress well. And yeah, we have some upcoming sessions, even this weekend alone. I know I'm taking a class. I'm teaching a class right after this one, so looking forward to that one as well. So, and these classes are really just general at the moment. There are not there's no linen plan or anything. They're all general sessions, and some of them are introductory sessions. So, don't feel like you have to follow a certain path or, just for general knowledge. And we'll move on to learning paths in subsequent cohorts. So, without further ado, this is our agenda for today. We've already gone over the welcome and about part. To be eligible for the residency program, you just have to show up. That's all. Just be curious about knowledge and wanting to know more, and show up, and that's it. And it's tuition free. You don't have to pay for anything at this time. And as far as finding out what courses are out there, we're building up a schedule which will be released soon. But for now, just look out, check out the residency space often and RSVP for any events that you're interested in. That's really it. And there will be an opportunity for a final project after this residency, and that's just really for you to showcase all of what you've learned, even during this residency. So take notes and start coming up with ideas for what your final project would look like. Applications are still open. So if you can't join this cohort, you can join the next cohort for sure. Just, reach us however you can with our email, hailerstalent@gmail.com, or on Instagram or any of our social media platforms. Yeah. So kicking it off for today is Winifred John, who is an expert as far as artificial intelligence goes. ChatGPT. If you're not familiar with ChatGPT, then you're really missing out. And that's some of the skill gaps that we're trying to fill with these sessions. So Winifred is a passionate software developer and technical writer with a strong love for AI and its real-world applications. She blends code with communication, building user-friendly digital solutions while simplifying tech concepts through documentation, storytelling, and public speaking. With experience leading webinars, tutoring students, writing about AI, Winifred is, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Winifred is on a mission to make technology more accessible, engaging, and empowering for everyone. All right. I hope I did that justice. Is Winifred with us? Please go ahead and.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Yes, and you got the name correctly. It's Winifred.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. And I'll stop sharing. I don't know if you have a presentation or not, but the floor is yours.
All right, sure. I do have a presentation. So, hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining. I've seen a lot of persons, and I'm so excited to be here to talk to you about AI. I think AI is everything that's happening right now. In fact, if at least once in a day you hear people talk about AI, you use AI and or stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and share the slide that I do have. And my topic is ChatGPT isn't smart. You are. Now, I would love to explain this concept a little bit. Now, most of my discussion I've had with students who have indicated interest in using AI tools or have interacted with some AI tools is always starts with fear. Like they believe that AI is so smart that it's going to take away opportunities from them. They believe that AI is so smart that they don't even stand a chance in Someone met me around after my seminar last month to ask me if going into coding is still going to be a viable profession in the next 5 years because AI is already doing some things in software development. So, most of these discussions we have around AI is triggered somehow by fear more than curiosity, and it shouldn't be that way. In fact, I do tell people that AI is not smart enough to take away the jobs and opportunities humans have. And would explain that. All right, so this is my intro. It's AI generated, so nothing special. And yeah, in today's agenda, so we are going to first of all discuss it just introduction to AI, then understand what prompting is, what prompt engineering is, what are the basics for prompting, then go straight into demos because this section is all about practicing, getting to do as much work as we can in terms of prompting. All right. So back to our context of AI isn't smart. Now, I would love this quote. I love this quote by Barry Libet that says that artificial intelligence can't yet do things that humans can't do. All right. So that simply means that the advancement we have in AI is still limited to things that human beings are already doing. I mean, ChatGPT is writing articles. Humans have been writing articles for eons. ChatGPT is generating videos. Humans have been generating videos for eons. There is no special thing that AI is doing that human beings are not already doing. And until we have AIs that are making research that is bringing out results or cures for cancer, herpes, and a lot of other things, building weapons, I still won't agree that AI is smarter than human beings. In fact, human beings have the power to make AI smarter and to control the outputs that AI like gives out to us. Okay, so the whole idea of AI started like very long ago, and it was not really common because the term AI was left in labs or in the software development field. Not much persons really interacted or were aware that they interacted with AI. Let me give you an instance. So, Google Assistant. When Google Assistant launched, when we had the first set of mobile Android phones and iOS phones that had Google Assistant in them, many of us didn't know that Google Assistant was an alias form of the voice assistive AI that we have now, such as Siri and Alexa, right? So even your Google Maps had some form of AI that was giving you an approximate distance, recommending routes and all that. Then your Yahoo Finance, back then when we used Yahoo a lot, so Yahoo Finance always gives us kind of recommendations to news articles we might be interested in, pointers, and some of these recommendation systems were AI. So we had a lot of AI running in the background, right? But somehow, after OpenAI launched ChatGPT, everything became an AI discussion, right? So the AI that comes to people's mind when you're discussing with them is mostly generative AI. Cloud, the Grok, the Dell-E, the Midjourney, the Kling AI, and every other AI, View 3, Google Gemini, all these are generative AI, and generative AI has fallen into our palms, and somehow we are getting scared that these AIs are going to change the way our lives would be. And yes, AI is going to make adjustments to things that are already existing, but necessarily it doesn't mean that it's going to overtake the things that humans are already doing. All right. Okay, so I don't want to delve so much on introduction to AI. So just a quick check-in. I realized that we have like limited emojis, so I wanted us to react. So I want to know how well do you understand AI? So if you understand AI like so well, you can give me like a wave or something. Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
So okay, okay. I've seen David. All right, David. And If you understand a little bit, just also raise your hands. If you understand a little bit about AI, you have like a general knowledge of what AI is. All right, I've seen more hands. Okay, all right, more hands are joining. So that's beautiful. And I would love to give us a very simple definition of what AI is. So, AI is simply a digital system or a computer that is endowed with the intellectual process characteristics of human beings, such as the ability to reason, to discover meaning, to generalize, and to learn from experience. So, AI is just simply trying to imitate the way humans are able to arrive at a decision. And that is what we are seeing now with agentic AIs. AIs that are able to take decision out of a context. So AIs are simply trying to mimic humans. They have not yet developed their ability to fully think for themselves or to fully discover meanings, and they are still playing around with reinforcement learning and the rest of that. So we are seeing AI models coming out every day, showing that there is a lot of work that is still yet to be done in making AI get to the level where we can per se they now possess these characteristics that humans are endowed with. So we are building something we are building towards, and in nearest future we will see that. So these are the layers of AI. Now, I love talking to people and trying to find out which layer of AI they are currently at. Okay, so many of us fall under the consumer layer and a little bit of the application layer. Then, for those that are deep into software engineering, prompt engineering, AI, ML, they fall under the purpose layer, right? Okay, so under the application layer of AI, we have the analytical AI. That is AI that is just for data analytics. We see that in um, dashboards, analytical dashboards like desk screeners and stuff like that. So, generative AI, which is the most popular guy right now, the ChatGPT, the Grok, the rest of that, Midjourney. Then we have the conversational AI. Now, ChatGPT somehow is also a conversational AI because it's equipped with natural language processing models. So it's you can converse like we can converse with ChatGPT. Then we have the autonomous AI. So those of us that are familiar with Tesla, yes, so Tesla technology, self-driving cars, self-driving drones, all fall under this autonomous technology. Now, for the perceptive AI, if you use a Face ID here, if you use a Face ID to unlock your phone, use Face ID to verify your transactions, any form of biometrics that involves iris scanning, biometric detection, and stuff like that, they are under perceptive AI, right? Now, and if we come to the consumer layer, it's basically what we use these AIs for. And we have the text based, the voice based, the visual based AI, and all that. So I'm going to head straight into prompting and prompt engineering. Now, let's not confuse the two. Now, I've seen courses, I've come up to people in tech events that talk about how they are going to make you a prompt engineer in just 2 hours, and how they're going to get you a prompt engineering role by just giving you a template or a Notion template of 1,000 prompts, then you become a prompt engineer. And it's so funny, right? Because you just find out that a lot of people find it difficult to differentiate between prompting itself and prompt engineering. Now, what we basically do in prompting is what I would classify under the application layer and the consumer layer. So if you're simply consuming AI, you're using it to develop a resume, you're using it to create videos, you're using it to create menus and stuff, you're using it for research assignments, you are in the consumer layer and you're also somehow in the application layer. All right, so basically what you're doing. Okay, Joe, please mute. All right, thank you. So you're basically doing prompting, right? You're giving ChatGPT an input, or you're giving the Gen AI you're using an input in order to get an output. Now, prompt engineering is much more advanced than that. Prompt engineers do like a great deal of work. They don't work directly at the consumer layer or the application layer. They work directly with the models. Now, ChatGPT is using a model called GPT, right? We know GPT 3.5, GPT 4.0, and the rest of the GPT models. Now, a prompt engineer is prompting directly on the model GPT itself, training it and improving GPT's response so that you at the user end, which is using the ChatGPT interface, can also get a better response when you are prompted. Okay, so we see how they work. So I would like to call prompt engineering like the back end part of refining AI's input. So I have a very short, okay, I have a very short definition right here. So prompting, like I said, is refining inputs to AI via natural language to, refine the results and output you're going to get. I repeated that 2 times. Now, prompting is different from prompt engineering, like I said. So prompt engineers deal with the language models directly. They deal with the models and they try to refine the results that we get from these models. So for this beginner stage, most of the courses you're going to see on YouTube, most of the courses you're going to see online will be on prompting, not prompt engineering. For you to become a prompt engineer, it is a different roadmap entirely. It's a career path. And prompt engineers mostly learn Python because they code. It involves a little bit of coding. And then also prompt engineers too have to have a deep level of understanding of how large language models work, how natural language processing works, and they also need to understand how APIs work because basically, and they use APIs sometimes to interact with these models. So prompting is a different prompt engineering is a different ballgame entirely. But if you are trying to advance to that roadmap, it's also good that you start with the prompting basis. From prompting, and I think at the end of this course, I'm going to share materials and resources you can use. So, in case you're very interested in prompt engineering, you want to go deep, I would share the resources that you can use to get started there. All right. Now, under prompting, there are some basics you need to know. And the number one rule is using specific plain language and context. Now, it sounds very simple when you tell people be specific, use plain language, include, like, make sure that whatever you're writing has a context in it to it. So it looks very simple to do until you find out that this is like the simplest and yet the hardest part for most people. Setting the context for your prompting you need to have an idea of the kind of output you're looking for. So I want a resume as a software engineer. I need to set my context to ChatGPT that I am a software engineer. If I don't write that, if I simply write I need a resume, I have not yet set the context. And that would give me a very generic answer that I don't want. Now, if I use a lot of verbs, like a lot of grammar, if I decide to, use up my knowledge of English in prompting, it's these large language models pick keywords. In fact, I tell people that somehow prompting is like walking around with SEO if you're a content writer. There are keywords that would give you that click you need from the user. The same thing with ChatGPT. There are keywords it's looking for. And if you begin to hide these keywords in a lot of sentences, in a lot of grammar, it becomes very difficult for you to get the exact result you need. So it is better for you to have multiple simple prompts than for you to have a packed up prompt that is not going to give you the output you need. All right. So I mentioned in point two that your output will determine your input, and then your input now determines the output you get. Now let me explain. When you are prompting AI, when you go to Dell Midjourney, ChatGPT, Grok, and the rest of that, there is something you are trying to achieve in you, like at the end of the day. That is your output. Now, from what you want to achieve, you're supposed to use that to set your input. And how you set that input will determine the kind of output that you're going to get from ChatGPT or the generative AI you're working with. So it is simply garbage in, garbage out. So that's why I even emphasize that ChatGPT is not smart. It's not going to read your mind. It's just going to give you results based on what you know you gave to it. Now, these are some of the building blocks I like to use in a very beginner level, in a very basic level. First of all, is set the context, give it a role. ChatGPT likes role playing. So tell it to act like a designer, tell it to act like a French teacher, tell it to act like a software developer. Then, before you assign the task to it, so what should it do? Now, the way large language models are built, they learn from past data, they learn from past experience, and they have been fed with billions and billions of information. So, if you want them to give you something close to the output you need, you have to provide a data that they can reference and now use that data to give you that kind of output. So let me give an instance. I need ChatGPT to generate a poem for me, and I don't need something that looks like it came out from a Shakespearean play. I need something that is simple, still poetic, maybe something that leans more to, I'm an African, so something that leans more to like an African scenario. I would give ChatGPT data from, let's say, my popular African poet, and from that data, it now knows exactly what my output should look like. Now, the last but not the least is to define the format, right? So if you want your output to be in an essay format, you want your output to be in a tabular format, you want your output to be a graph or an image, you have to define the format of that output. Else you're going to take whatever it gives you at the end of the day. Okay, so yeah, and my talk was not meant to be that long. So I want to go straight to doing small demos on prompting basis before we move over to prompt engineering itself. Okay, so before I proceed, is there any questions or are we going to take questions after the lesson? Okay.
Question, and it's are the slides going to be available for download? So will you make the slides available after the session?
All right, all right. So, yes, I'm going to send along the slides
Okay.
and also the resources. So, if you have, if you're on your laptop or on your mobile phone and you can join in, so do you can also practice along. All right. So these are some of the resources, right? Now, for I'm going to give you a cheat sheet. I love cheat sheets. So if you are finding it difficult to get the exact prompt you need, you're still struggling with prompting, And I know that after this lesson, you're not going to struggle with prompting anymore. But then you need very quick prompts, very refined prompts. I discovered this prompts.chat. So is essentially it was actually built with AI. It was vibe coded with AI, and it's actually a page where people put out their best prompts for you to use. So you can just go there, copy a prompt. I'm waiting for it to load. Yeah, I can now share this tab. So this is what it looks like. Prompts.chat, right? So it was built with Cursor AI. For those of you that are familiar with Cursor, I've used it for quite some time and it's very good in terms of coding and all that stuff. So you can, like, this is what I was talking about. Give ChatGPT, give your AI a role. So act as an Ethereum developer. This is an example of a good prompt, and followed by a task, and followed by all other details. So you can use this. You can come here, search. There are different application layers of this stuff. So that's like one of the things I love giving out to my students. Now, let's go over to some prompts engineering examples, and I'll start with showing you a template that works for everybody that is doing prompt engineering or prompting. Okay, so just give me a sec while I load this. All right, so let me share this tab. Perfect. So one of the most popular things I keep doing on ChatGPT is at this point my resume, right? Every job application, every role, every year. Sometimes when I have new projects I've added, I just update my resume, right? So instead of repeating the same prompt over and over again, I just simply generated a template that would help me, you know, pick the best out of my resume and present that to my employee. Now, this is a generic template, so you have to adjust it based on whatever you're doing. So act as if you're an expert career coach and professional resume writer with 15 years of experience, blah blah. Then the task we are giving ChatGPT here is to create a tailored keyword optimized resume. Now, when you're applying for a job, there are certain keywords. Most job applications also use AI to assess, you know, for the first stage of hiring. So if you have 1,000 applications, we just push it through AI, and this AI is backed by an ATS tracker. So they have specific keywords that they are looking for that job role. So if your resume does not have those keywords, automatically it gets lost in the sea of applications. And then you now get a generic message. We're sorry, we had to move along with, those kind of sad stuff. But with ChatGPT, you can tailor your resume to suit the requirements of the job. So, create a tailored keyword optimized resume suitable for the industry you're applying for, the specific role, the company's name, or a similar organization, right? So, if the organization you're applying for is not popular, ChatGPT probably does not know about it. But then there is a popular competitor or a popular company in that same industry. For instance, you're applying to a logistics industry as an automation specialist, right? Now, the one of the biggest logistics company is FedEx. And the company you're applying to is a much smaller startup that probably has just one landing page, no much web browsing history. You can simply use FedEx as a reference. It's better to use an organization that is much recognized, and ChatGPT has much more data on it in order for you to get the results you're looking for. Now you can now come down here and provide it with context, right? So you have to give it data, you have to give it some information, you have to include your experience, your education, achievement, your skills, your goals, and all that stuff. And then there's some sort of organization you're looking to achieve in your resume. So you want to have a profile, you want to have your achievements, you want to, you know, use the kind of industry specific terminology. So as a software engineer, there are kind of terms that needs to be on my resume. And then you need all those things, and you can choose the format, whether you want to use US resume standards or EU standards or ATS friendly. I usually go with ATS friendly standards. It just works for everything. Okay. Now there are some. Now these don'ts. Most people don't include don'ts when prompting, and I get that it's a whole lot of work, right? But then there are some things that I hate seeing in an AI generated work. I know I'm using AI like to generate this resume, but it doesn't have to look so AI generated. So you have to give ChatGPT some don'ts. A side joke, right? So I and my friend, we are reviewing some articles that were supposed to be human written using Turing, and this person had, a very high level of human written content, and we were about to pass it, only for us to look at, the number of dashes they have. So I like dashes gave it away, the excessive dashes that ChatGPT always has in it, like gives in its articles and stuff like that. So if you don't want to see things like those dashes, you don't want to see, you're not someone that, dots your I's and cross your T's, you still want your text or your resume to look like something you would write, then give it the don'ts. Tell it, I don't want this, I don't want that. I don't want to see the go-getter, the hardworking, diligent, you know. You don't want to see all those fancy poetic words. Give it the don'ts and then push in your prompt. Okay, so I have one. So I use Google. This is my small background. So since the company I was applying for was a startup that really didn't have much records on them, so I just used Google as the target company. And this is basically what my resume experience has been like. But okay, so I think let me go to ChatGPT and prompt this. So let me share this tab. Okay. All right. So let's generate. Okay, so for this lesson, we are still using the free ChatGPT, so it's not an excuse not to get a good prompt. Now, I want you to watch something.
Sorry, can you make the
Okay.
text larger?
Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay, let me increase this. This is perfect, right? It's much better.
It's perfect.
Okay, okay. So I forgot I zoomed out. Apologies for that. So I want you to see the organization, right? So first of all is my professional summary, technical skills, my professional experience, and my project highlights, my education, my certification, and all that. Now, this is how a normal resume, like a standard resume, is formatted. And the reason why I am getting this kind of results is because of how I prompted the AI, right? I gave it set of instructions. I gave it metrics to use. I gave it a tone. I set the context. I used plain, simple English, and I added my do's and don'ts, and then the kind of output I wanted. So I needed it in a professional ATS compliant, plain text format with clear sections. I didn't want all the jargons. I didn't want all the flowery language. I didn't want all the in the landscape of no. I didn't want that. So I just needed something that was professional, straight to the point, showed my skills, and cut off all the excess things, right? So, this is exactly what you should aim to achieve when you are prompting. So I'll be dropping the link to this template. So if you can use it and edit it, if you have a resume to write, you have something you need to do. Just I think I have a couple of them, right? Okay, so let's proceed. Now we have seen how ChatGPT, just like the hack to using ChatGPT anytime, any day. You have to be very clear. You have to give it every detailed instruction. And after doing this whole work, like, can we just agree with me that ChatGPT is not smart? Like, I had to take my time to literally teach this guy to give me the resume I wanted, just because I needed this extra 5 minutes of laziness to myself. And I spent 30 minutes cracking my brains trying to find out perfect templates to give ChatGPT so I don't have a resume that's going to get kicked out. It's if you just come to look at it in terms of prompting, and especially when we step into image generation, video generation, you realize how smart you are compared to AI. In fact, you can weep in video generation. So video generation has humbled a lot of us earlier when we are prompting is the point where you just become humble in video generation. And a lot of times after generating videos with I still move it to CapCut and remove excess things that I don't need. So despite the perfect prompt, despite the references, despite the images, you're going to get a result that is, let's say, if you're very good, 70 to 80% of what you are trying to achieve. So you're just getting better at prompting to get better results from ChatGPT. So come to think of it, human beings are smarter. I mean, I could have hired a resume writer, gotten my job done. I didn't need to I didn't have to explain myself so much, and the person knows what to do, right? But now we want to do it the AI way. We want to do it the free way. So we have to learn how to prompt ChatGPT and any other generative AI. Now, please let me just calm down some certain level of arguments. I've heard people say Gemini is better, ChatGPT is better, Grok is better. The rest of that. So there is always a purpose behind every model. Am I clear? There's always a purpose behind every model. Every model has its strength and has its weaknesses. I would much rather prefer to use ChatGPT in anything that has to do with content writing, article writing, blog writing, than using Gemini. Now, trust me, Gemini is cool, right? Gemini is okay. It gives you these references and sources. But when it comes to a certain level of comprehension and closeness to originality, I'll go with ChatGPT any day. Once you get very good at prompting ChatGPT, you can even deceive AI detectors with how good you are in prompting. Okay, so what I've basically done is, to some extent, I have trained my ChatGPT model to speak like me. Okay, you mentioned what about Copilot? Now, I use Copilot a lot, but that's in programming. Anything that has to do with my programming, I use Copilot and Cursor. Perplexity, I use Perplexity mostly when I need to do in-depth research. Perplexity is like one of the best in terms of research for me, right? Then when it comes to Gemini, I use Gemini mostly when I have to do anything that requires referencing from browsers. Now, you know that Google owns Gemini, and it is safe to say that Google, all the information you feed into your Google search is passed and taught to Gemini. So if you want to get something very close to what you get from a normal search on Google, use Gemini. So it's as simple as that. The main thing about these AIs is that they have their specific strengths. They have the areas where they are super good at. So I will not say ChatGPT is better than Gemini and this is better than no. I instead individualize my AIs based on what I want to achieve. And that's exactly what you should do. If you want to achieve, you know, if you're a content writer, ChatGPT works for you. If you do in-depth research, Perplexity works for you. If you program, Cursor, Copilot, they are your best mates. Copilot is going to give you like literally code bases that you can import. It's outstanding when it comes to coding. It's mind blowing. Cursor itself is an amazing tool, right? It gives you a very good leverage. And let me not just digress too far, but then I think we get the main point. Okay, so let's go straight to image generation, right? Now, we have a lot of image generation AIs and stuff like that, but they are not free, right? You can use ChatGPT to generate images. You can use Gemini to generate images, but that's the plus version. ChatGPT gives you free images, but the images that ChatGPT gives you, they're not so realistic enough in the free version. But I discovered this AI tool that gives you something very close to a realistic image. And that's this Leonardo.ai. How many of us know this Leonardo.ai, guys? I discovered them like last month and they have been super amazing. Now, I'm sure some of us have seen these very realistic Gen Z Bible videos about or these AI influencers. I'm sure we have seen AI influencers on TikToks, these fake AI news, fake AI broadcasters, and the rest of that. How many of us have seen that? So this AI, Leonardo.ai, is one of the AIs that give you very realistic images. Very realistic images. So let's go ahead and prompt. So I already have a prompt template, right? Okay, I already have a prompt template. So I want to create a character, right? Now, I was very fascinated when I do see all this, Gen Z, stuff from before, like all this history, AI stuff like that, and I was very interested in all that stuff. So I'm someone that likes history, so I'm not trying to, use terms that could be offensive to anyone. It's just an example. So we looking at this prompt, we are trying to generate a very realistic image of a character, and you have to define the race of that character. That's giving the ChatGPT context or the AI context. You have to define the race, the age, the appearance, everything about that character to the details. So if I need a Caucasian or a white guy, or if I need an Asian guy, right? Let me see if I can generate an an Asian warlord.
If you're sharing your screen, we're not seeing. We're stuck on resources at the point.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Okay, so let's like go for an Asian warlord. I think that's exciting. An Asian warlord in his 30s. So how is an Asian warlord supposed to look like? Rugged, serious. Asian people do have dark curly hair, a beard. Mm, then he has to. No, we have to change this. So he has tattoos. He started up tattoos. What do badass people wear? I think leather. Wearing leather, you know, leather vests and boots. Okay. So let's try to see what this will give us. Now, if you can, now we can further give this a setting. We can give this a setting. Where do we want him to be located at? So, standing behind a fire explosion. Yeah, that's badass. So we have given this a setting and we have described our character. And one thing I like about this AI is like it gives you, oh, this is our Asian guy. Okay. So our Asian guy is looking more American than Asian. Okay, so let me refine this rugged and serious. I'm not trying to sound racist, but Asians do have double eyelids. Lids, that curly hair, beard. Uh, or let me specify the kind of Asian. Chinese. I think that would. All right. So why this is generating? Okay, yeah, this looks more realistic. Now we used an Asian word before and we saw something close to an American, right? Now with ChatGPT, you have to narrow down the specificity. Like you need to be very specific. Go down to the barest minimum. We had to define the kind of attire he's wearing. We had to describe our background. I think this number two is looking more realistic. Which one do you think we like, guys? Number two. I like number two. It's super realistic. This one, right? So I think I'll go with this. The whole fire vibe and all. Okay, so this is what you get. We have this one. It's also looking like super realistic too. So when you're generating images, this too is looking very realistic. So when you're generating images like this, you have to go down to describe the setting. You have to be clear about the appearance. You have to be clear about the ethnicity and all those stuff. All those tiny details, facial expression, everything depending on what you are trying to achieve. And then if you are trying to get a particular concept, maybe you want a vintage style, a cinematic setting, Ghibli style, and whatever style you are looking for, you can simply achieve that by prompting better. Okay, so I want us to do something on video generation before this session ends. So I found a very like it's free to an extent. This Helio.ai, right? So I found it recently and it's a very amazing video AI generation tool. We also have View 3. View 3 is also amazing. If you've used View 3 before, trust me, I think you would enjoy it compared to every other video generation tool you come across. Another tool is InVideo AI. Now, InVideo is mostly for those of you that are looking for realistic AI influencers. So if you need and you want to clone yourself and have yourself as an AI influencer, you don't really want to show your face, but you want to have a TikTok video, use InVideo AI. Like they are super, super good in that regard. So let me go straight to Helio and share this tab. Okay, so this is something I created like just yesterday when I was trying to test it. It's a short film, the biblical setting of Ezekiel and stuff like that. So we are going to use our image that we generated from Leonardo AI to create a video. So this Hello AI works best when you have an image. You'd get a better result when you have an image. Okay. All right. Now we need to prompt our AI. So what do we want this our Superman to do? Okay, we want him to walk towards us.
So, reminder.
Okay.
Yep.
Walking towards us. In a dramatic way. Okay, I'm going to keep this short, but let's work with what we have. All right, so in these 5 minutes while we are waiting for our video to cook, please, I would love to take, questions and all that stuff. I was not really able to do so much on prompts engineering. So okay, he said he wishes the session would be, so we're going to have, I'm going to drop the materials and everything you're going to need for this. So let me first of all drop the slide. So this is the link to my slide. Let me let me share it. Okay. I think any questions, if you have any questions right now, you can start asking. Our video is still cooking. It's going to take a while.
No questions from here, but just wanting everybody to know that there's another session right after this. Before we go on as well, I would ask everyone to come off
Okay.
camera if you can, so we can take a family picture, which will allow
Yeah.
others to join the other sessions.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. But this was good. Really great information. I thought I knew AI before now, but I was able to pick up a lot of things, which I'll be trying for myself. It was really nice how you broke the topics down and really give us some real life applications, right? Like resume writing or prompt engineering for videos and images. There's so many practical uses for each of the tools we've explored today, and just from the audience reaction, we're sure we'll be hearing more from you. So, any
All right. So
last
um,
bit of information?
I promised something like for those that are very interested in prompt engineering. Like I said, prompting is different from prompt engineering. So this entire page right here is going to give you every basic knowledge you need to start prompt engineering. Now, you do prompting on ChatGPT, but for prompt engineering, you can explore OpenAI Playground. So simply go to OpenAI Playground and you can start exploring prompt engineering. This one, you're directly communicating with the models, right? Okay.
And you can also shoot us an email with all of that information so we can send it out in a recap. I think that'll be perfect as well because not everybody will have access to the chat after this.
All right, sure.
Yeah. All right. If everybody's ready for a selfie, please get off, show your video, and it'll only take a second, and we can go back to being on stilt mode. All right. Can everybody come off camera for a second? Let me make sure. All right. Good to see your faces. It's Independence Day here in the U.S., so I have to wear the flag, which. All right. David, Harry, where's Chidera? I don't see. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see you now. Yeah, perfect. Let's go ahead and take a selfie and we'll be done. And do stick around for the next. All right, I'm gonna take it at a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect. So we have the animation. We have the animation session right after this, which I'll be leading. So to join, you just have to follow the next link, and you'll be able to join that one. So and we also have some more sessions coming up tomorrow. So we have so the next one is myself, and then we also have Lawrence Arinze, who will be taking us through getting started with Canva. So if you use Canva, absolutely join that one tomorrow at 5 p.m. West African time. We also have Oluwatosin Samuel, who is going to take us through how to build your first website using WordPress. But this was awesome. Thank you, Chidera, for taking us through ChatGPT and how to use these AI tools. We hope to see you again. Thanks, everyone, and see you in the next session. All right, bye.